too. How I rewired my brain in 6 weeks. Quick side personal note. You know, if you've been following me for any recent time, you might know that I'm doing extended fasting lately. And the last amount of time that I completed was 10 days. 10 days of liquids only. And today is the second day of a new fast. Because I broke my fast to do an olive oil and lemon flush of my liver and gallbladder. And that was very successful. But I did eat to broom out the harvest of the flush. And then it's taken me a few days to get back to the fasting. So it was a little rough today. To be honest, I was on the way back from 24-hour fitness where I dropped off my resume. And I was trying to rationalize and justify and come up with a reason to eat. But essentially what I did was I convinced myself that this is my lifestyle now. The fasting group that I'm a part of is called the Fasting Lifestyle. And I want to train. I want to spar. I want to be able to roll. I want to be able to fulfill my destiny as Master Lukey, which is a touring mixed martial arts showcase. And I just can't do both. At this point in my life, I can't eat and fight. So what I did was I did cheat a little bit, kinda. I got a frozen container of orange juice. And I ate that with a spoon because it was frozen. I also got honey. And what you just saw me drink was an iced fizzy with honey. I want to get to the strict water only fast. So I'm transitioning. I'm on liquids now, day 2. I got to get to the no calorie fasting. Anyway, it's happening. You know, I reason why I bring it up is because I'm telling you how I rewired my brain today to think like this is the new normal. I'm not going backwards to eating and then not being able to barely move the next day because of the inflammation, yada yada. So tomorrow, you know, I got this really bad inflammation in my lower right quadrant, right on top of my hip. And it's pulling all the way up the right side of my body to my neck. And I know that it's going to reduce, although I had, between yesterday and today, several teaspoons of baking soda. So I'm waiting for that to kick in. You know, besides the fizzy, I took like a teaspoon of baking soda and washed it down with coffee and maple syrup. I did that a few times. as this inflammation goes away, my whole system's gonna open up. I just know it. All the injuries are gonna loosen, and I'll be able to do what I came here to do in this world. Let's see how this person did it. Growing evidence that simple, everyday changes to our lives can alter our brains and change how they work. Melissa Hogenboom put her own brain in the scanner to find out. I also started waking up at 5 a.m. Today I texted my sons at 5:45, and then I went back to sleep until 7. I couldn't function. It's surprisingly hard to think of nothing is one of my first thoughts as I'm lying in the maw of a machine that's scanning my brain. I was told to focus on a black cross while the functional magnetic resonance imagine machine does its noisy work. It also feels impossible to keep my eyes open. The hum of the scanner is somewhat hypnotic, and I worry a little bit that drifting off will affect how my brain appears on the resulting images. As a science journalist, I've always been fascinated by the workings of the mind, which is how I found myself inside a scanner at Royal Holloway, University of London. To have my brain examined before embarking on a 6-week brain-altering course. My goal was to investigate whether there's a way we can influence meaningful brain change ourselves. By altering aspects of my daily life, I hoped to find out if it's possible to strengthen crucial connections in our brain and keep our mind healthier in the process. Along the way, I learned techniques we can all use with some powerful results. Okay, let's fast forward. Neuroscientists and psychologists are now finding that we have the power to control that to some extent. There's good reason to want to boost our brain. An increasing number of studies suggest it can play a role in delaying or preventing degenerative brain diseases. So with the help of Thorsten Barnhofer, a professor of clinical psychology at the University of Surrey in the UK, that's what I set out to do. He's currently running a study on the effects of mindfulness in managing stress and difficult emotions, with a special focus on individuals with severe depression. I should go there. I was surprised that something as simple as mindfulness can play such a crucial role in keeping us healthy. Research has shown that mindfulness is a simple but powerful way to enhance several cognitive functions. It can improve attention, relieve pain, and reduce stress. Research found that after only a few months of mindfulness training, certain depression and anxiety symptoms can ease. Though, as with any complex mental health problem, this may, of course, vary depending on individual circumstances. We're going to fast forward. Oh, excuse me. Okay, here we go. Throughout the 6 weeks I spent on this mindfulness course, I also spent time filming other neuroscientists for my Brain Hacks documentary to see if there are congruent hacks I could implement. For instance, it shows that both meditation and exercise boost plasticity. I didn't increase my normal levels of exercise, but I did push myself to run faster, regularly running a 5K in my hilly local park in about 21 minutes. Knowing that this might help boost my brain too kept me motivated. Physical activity facilitates the procedure of plasticity, says Ori Asmi, a lecturer in brain and cognitive development. If you combine it with cognitive tasks to improve skills you're interested in, you probably will be able to do this in an enhanced way. Makes sense given how closely the health of our bodies and brains tied together. says Gillian Forrester, a professor of comparative cognition at the University of Sussex in the UK. Physical health is tied to cognitive health. 2. It's by studying infants that scientists like Forrester are learning to see the brain-body link in action. Forrester showed me her latest project called Baby Grow. The study will monitor babies' development in their first 11 months with the aim of spotting signs of cognitive disorders before they become apparent. And the reason it's crucial to do it so early is tied to neuroplasticity too. A child's brain is especially plastic in its early years of development. New neurological connections and networks are being created at a frenetic pace as they grow and learn about their environment. This means it's potentially much easier to apply interventions for those who need it during this high plasticity state. It's one of the reasons why Forrester believes it's so important to learn more about everyday processes that help mold the brain. Same idea also comes into play when patients are recovering from serious brain injuries. For me. I met with Angelo Quartarone, the scientific director of the Centro Neurolosi Bonino Pulijo, a center for brain injuries in Sicily. He witnesses plasticity in action every day. Even in the worst conditions, with the brain helps to repair itself in some way. With neurorehabilitation, we can accelerate recovery, he says. His team uses various methods of assisting, including robotics, virtual reality, and placing electrical currents on the brain. A tiny amount of currents can interact with the same mechanisms which are engaged by neurorehabilitation techniques. So you have a double hit. I was amazed to learn that one of his patients who lost power in their right limbs was able to forge neural connections by playing simulated computer games. This helped them to regain lost motor skills. This type of brain enhancement is something we can all learn from. It's clear that practicing new skills and regularly exposing ourselves to new situations all helps the brain to continue to adapt and grow. Alright. The structure of my brain had, in fact, changed, and there were a few measurable changes to be seen. One half of my amygdala, an almond-shaped structure important for emotional processing, had reduced in volume on the right side. The change was minute but measurable. However, what's exciting is that this aligns with the scientific literature that shows mindfulness can reduce its size because it buffers stress. When we have increased stress, the amygdala grows. The other change was to my cingulate cortex, part of the limbic system that's involved in behavior and emotional responses. It's also important for the default mode network, a region that becomes active when the mind wanders and ruminates. In my brain, it increased slightly over the 6 weeks, indicating increased control of that area. Again, this chimes with published studies in the literature. Final note of caution. It's important to acknowledge that any brain changes we saw can also be random. The brain's constantly changing anyway. But nevertheless, the study suggests that the whole experience was a worthwhile challenge and a process many people could easily benefit from. We got some benefits. We got some changes you could benefit from. And the science is confirming it. Boom. Proper treatment for hypertension could avert 76 million deaths globally by 2050. Because heart disease is the #1 killer. And the major cause of heart disease is animal products. The dangerous effects of high blood pressure are highlighted in a new report by the World Health Organization that identifies the condition as one of the world's leading risk factors for death and disability. Published Tuesday, the first report on the global impact of high blood pressure, also known as hypertension, offers recommendations on ways to combat the silent killer. Hypertension, categorized as a blood pressure reading 140 over 90 or higher affects 1 in 3 adults worldwide, according to the report. It commonly leads to a number of other health problems, including stroke, heart attack, heart failure, and kidney damage. It can be controlled effectively with simple, low-cost drug regimens, and yet only about 1 in 5 people with hypertension have controlled it. Here we go. An increase in the number of people effectively treated to levels observed in high-performing countries could prevent 76 million deaths between 2023 and 2050, the WHO says. These preventative measures include eating a healthy diet, maintaining a healthy weight, avoiding alcohol and tobacco, and exercising regularly. These strategies can be implemented in specific settings like schools and in the workplace to further promote healthier lifestyle choices. Master Luki's got the brand for all that. How do I make it happen, guys? Another tactic is lowering daily sodium. Alright, now you have to lower the right daily sodium, because there's sodium that you do want. That's the kind that's in celery, the kind that's in Celtic salt. You don't want the cooked salt. Unable to connect to Facebook? Oh, that's weird. Alright, no comments yet. Oh man. Every hour, more than 1,000 people die from heart disease, strokes, and heart attacks. According to the CEO of the organization, Resolve to Save Lives, and former director of the CDC. Most of these deaths are caused by high blood pressure and could have been prevented. Good hypertension care is affordable, within reach, and strengthens primary health care. The challenge now is to go from within reach to reached. This will require commitment of governments around the world. It's going to take a lot of... I'm already committed. I don't know. I guess strategy. It's going to take better strategy for me to be successful. Canada threatens to fine grocery stores over high prices. The Canadian government's taken aim at grocery stores, warning them of big consequences if they fail to provide relief for Canadians by stabilizing food prices by October 9th. This comes amid rising inflation in the country and as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberty Party trails badly in the polls. Speaking at the Liberals' National Caucus retreat in London, Ontario on Thursday, Trudeau said he expects to hear from the largest grocery chains by Thanksgiving on what their plan is to stabilize prices, adding that if their plan doesn't provide real relief for the middle class and people working hard to join it, then we will take further action, and we are not ruling anything out, including tax measures. It's not okay that our biggest grocery stores are making record profits while Canadians are struggling to put food on the table. The CEOs of the grocery giants denied the allegations of price gouging and profiteering, arguing that the grocery chains operate with extremely small profit margins and have minimal influence on inflation. See, that I believe. The Retail Council of Canada, which represents Canada's biggest grocery chains, argues that focusing solely on the grocery stores will not solve the problem of rising food prices, as it is just the tip of the iceberg, and instead urged the government to look in the mirror. According to Carl Littler, the Senior Vice President of Public Relations at the Retail Council, it is the government's policies, such as the growing carbon tax, which affects farmers and food distribution, and limiting the use of plastic, which keeps food fresh, that mainly contribute to the rising prices. If they don't look at what's below the surface and what's actually driving food prices, then it's not going to be a very helpful exercise. Sheesh. Nobody likes somebody raising prices, Trudeau. Whatever your intentions are. Oh, but he wants to lower prices. That's what it is. He wants to stop prices. Do the best you can, man. Muhammad Usman, UFC heavyweight, tries to embrace the emotions after losing son to drowning accident. Oh my God, what? What a nightmare. Muhammad Usman believes the trauma he has suffered outside the cage has prepared him for the challenges that lie ahead in the UFC. Usman's 2-year-old son, Nash, tragically died in a drowning incident in 2019. The UFC heavyweight spoke of his heartbreak during Season 30 of The Ultimate Fighter and dedicated his final victory over Zach Pauga to Nash. You've got to be one with your emotions, and instead of masking them, just embrace it. These emotions inside are like a whirlwind, and they're fueling me to compete. I just embrace the emotions, flow with them, and let them carry me to the finish line. His knockout win secured a UFC contract, and he followed that up over Junior Tafa. He decided to embark on a career in MMA after his son's birth, is now looking focus on the next chapter. It's something that happened in my life. I'm not saying I'm trying to put it behind me, but you get to a certain point where there are some things you don't need to keep peeling the wound back. I don't just want to keep opening up my scab. I just want to let him rest in peace. Alright, well, I don't understand why this article was sent to me. It's just that, my sons are still alive, so it's not a healed wound. Usman can't do anything about his son. It won't bring him back. Me? Maybe there's nothing I can do either, but I'm going to try. The Nigerian recognizes he's not alone in going through a huge life-altering experience, but believes with the support of family and friends he's emerged a stronger person. You can't judge anyone until you know their story, and a lot of fighters have been through something traumatic. When I sit back and think about the struggles I've been through, they're way harder than getting into the cage. So people better be prepared, because I've been through some stuff. You know what? I used to think that having mixed martial arts experience made me a better person. That it was actually something to be proud of that I accomplished. And people, looked up to me over it. But there's way harder things than getting into the cage. And Usman just admitted it. People think, oh yeah, it takes a lot to get in there. It takes a lot to get in there because you have to train. And that's why mixed martial arts, I still believe, is a beneficial skill to work on, because it prepares you for hardships. And that's a problem with Ultimate Fighting, is because you see he's saying here, stepping into the cage gives me a release. That's not what fighting is. Martial arts is not a release. Martial arts is a path that you never get to the end of. It's a path of self-improvement. You always can be in that room for self-improvement. There's room for improvement. But because you have a promoter in MMA who's making money off that release, the promoter's pushing the release because that's how they get, paid, is by having somebody who won. Anything you want takes hard work. He moved to America with his family when he was 6. His dad was sentenced to 15 years of prison, and Usman didn't let it define him, so he went into the NFL. He played college football, and then he didn't get into the NFL, but he didn't quit either. The name carries plenty of weight in the MMA world thanks to his older brother. I thought that was familiar. Kamaru, who was the #1 fighter prior to losing in August 2022. Muhammad's victory on season 30 of The Ultimate Fighter saw him follow in his brother's footsteps. Now it's on to the next chapter to try to get that UFC gold. His next opponent is UFC vet Jake Collier, who's on the skid. I just want to get to work and start competing against the best guys in the world, Usman says. I think I fit right in because I'm a big hitter and I can show my skills. I'm more athletic than most of these guys. I'm going to use my grappling and wrestling. I fit perfectly into the division and I bring something different because I'm not just a big hitter. So he is a big hitter, but he's not just a big hitter. Kind of like me. I'm a good striker, but I'm not just a good striker. I'm also a bad grappler. Womp womp. But so, you know, I'm cleansing myself, and so that you'll be able to see me actually fighting soon. Okay, I got Tuesdays and Thursdays off from Pinpoint, as well as Saturday and Sunday. So these are the days where I'm going to be looking. Ooh, feel that pull right here when I sneeze. These are the days when I'll be going to other gyms. So hopefully I'll be able to stream that and get you some more content. If you got any questions about health, fitness, whatever, go to masterluki.com. I still haven't updated the website, so just bear with me, okay? Scroll to the bottom and click on contact. Over and out. Thanks for tuning in.